Order.
6 o'clock.
Pledge allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay,
Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this meeting was given in the revised annual meeting notice, which was emailed to the Herald News, Record Office, and County Clerk, and posted on the PCCC website and bulletin boards on November 15, 2022.
Roll call.
Alumni Rep. Rockbond. Thank you. Trustee Octor. Trustee Drayford is absent. Trustee Glovin. Here. Trustee Diaz-Dene.
Present.
Moody. Trustee Nutter. Thank you. Trustee Poe. Trustee Ramirez.
Present.
Trustee Smith.
Present.
Vice Chair Tanis.
Present.
Chairman Marco.
Present.
You have four.
Thank you very much. Okay. First order of business is consideration of the minutes of the October 17, 2023 Board of Trustees meeting. Are there any corrections to the minutes? Yes.
I was here.
Huh?
I was at the meeting. My name is on the list of people.
Well, that's a problem.
That's a problem. Then your name was omitted.
See, we do this periodically to see if you would read it.
Absolutely.
And so you get.
Well, it's not very consistent. I seconded, I made a couple of comments. My name's over in the.
Yeah, so you know your apps.
That's right. I decided out of mind.
Make that change. Is there any others?
Hearing about the correction change. Will mark trustee Golden present last year. And with that, are there any objections to the corrections? They have a motion on resolution number 1, approval of the October 17, 2023 minutes as corrected. Is there a second?
In person.
No.
Somebody.
Motion.
Second.
Trustee Ramirez. Trustee. Trustee Glovin.
Yes.
Trustee Diaz-Dene.
Yes.
Trustee Moody.
Yes.
Trustee Nutter. Trustee Nutter, on the motion to approve the minutes as corrected.
Mike,
You-
did you,
I see Assad. Just gonna walk you.
you can record me as a yes, please.
Thank you. Trustee Poe. Stay. Trustee Ramirez.
Yes.
Trustee Smith.
Yes.
Vice Chair Tanis.
Yes.
Chairman Marco.
Yes.
Motion's adopted.
Presentations.
Okay, so we have the election of officers this month, since it is November. And I'm going to open up nominations for chair of the board.
Nomination in the name of Dennis Marco, who has served us efficiently, diligently for the past few years, and since we're entering a year where we're going to be facing no state evaluation, I think he should be just continuing the role.
Second,
Are there any other nominations for the position of chair? Is there a motion to close nominations?
So
make a motion.
It'll be, okay.
Second,
Okay, so on the nomination of Dennis Marco to be the chair, Trustee Octor,
yes,
Trustee Glovin,
Yes.
Trustee Diaz-Dene.
Yes.
Trustee Moody.
Yes.
Trustee Nutter. Trustee Nutter. Stay. Trustee Poe. Trustee Ramirez.
Yes.
Trustee Smith.
Yes,
Vice Chair Tanis.
yes.
Chairman Marco. Congratulations.
It was close. We didn't recount.
We'll let you know when we can congratulate you for that.
Thank you, everyone.
Congratulations again.
So technically, you can vote down for vice chair.
I can do the roll.
You-
I'll open up the floor for nominations for vice chair.
I nominate Barbara Tanis, who has also equally served us
One,
exceedingly and abundantly well.
all right.
Are there any other?
Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, going to close the floor. Nominations. Call for the roll.
Super. Okay, so on the nomination for Barbara Tennis as vice chair, trustee Ocker,
yes,
trustee Glover,
Yes.
trustee Diaz-Danay,
Yes.
trustee Moody.
Yes.
Trustee Nutter. Trustee Nutter. Stay. Trustee Pop. Yes, thank you. Trustee Ramirez.
Yes.
Trustee Smith.
Yes,
Chair Dennis. Chairman Marco.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Irene,
Great.
Thank you.
Okay,
Irene,
now presentation.
Now presentation, so, first, this is something we spoke about at our retreat, was, cybersecurity has become all encompassing for us at the college and in your personal lives as well. I don't think, every time you get an email, you don't know whether it's looking for your personal information or not. I'm sure in many cases, you all remember that last year we had a breach here at the college, which,
okay, but it's still, I'm still not
one of
doing it.
the scariest things we've ever been through here at the college.
Where should I?
You all know Brad
Just
Gordon,
come in here.
vice president
Oh, what this
of
motherfucker?
here at the
What
college.
the fuck is going on here with this thing?
That process went very, very well, but I thought it'd be great if you could come and talk a little about just what we're doing ourselves and possibly what you could do to protect yourselves, so.
Right, thank you, Dr. Rose. Good evening, everyone. So tonight we're going to be reviewing our information security, or the state of information security at the college. I'm Brad Morton, Vice President of IT, and also joining us
But
online,
leave it, you mean, leave it.
who is our Chief Information Security Officer. And she joins us through a service from NJ Edge. So she's a part-time virtual CISO, Chief Information Security Officer. Before we get started, Dawn, maybe you can introduce yourself and maybe give us a little bit of your background and kind of what you do for us at the college.
Absolutely. A pleasure to see you all. My name is Dawn Dunkerley, as Brad said, working with you through NJ Edge. But my background, just so you know, I spent the better part of 20 years with the U.S. Department of Defense, working primarily in cybersecurity and cyber intelligence. My background from an education perspective, I have an undergraduate in information technology, a master's in network security, and a PhD focused in measuring the success of cybersecurity programs within organizations. So this is something that I'm very passionate about. I love working with the education vertical and understanding the unique threats and challenges and opportunities that we have within education. So we'll talk about that a little bit later, but again, pleasure to meet you all.
Thank you, Dawn. So tonight, I thought it might be good to give you an overview of kind of the threat landscape across all sectors, with kind of a focus as well on just the education sector. What are the top threats facing the college? What we're doing to address those threats through our information security program. And if there's time, I'd like to touch on federal requirements, which really drives a lot of what we're required to do as an institution. It's not just cyber insurance asking us to do these things, it's also federal government. Right, so Verizon issues a report every year called the Verizon Data Breach Investigation Report. And they pull data from across all sectors. So in this last year, the 2023 report, They've analyzed over 16,000 security incidents and over 5,000 confirmed data breaches. And they pulled this data from, for this year, from the period of November 2021 through October 22. So all these incidents occurred during that time period. In the education sector, 496 of those were security incidents, and there were 238 data breaches just in that one period. So it's no longer a case of, you know, if it's going to happen, it's when. So you no longer plan to try and prevent it, just prevent it. You plan to prevent it, and then also how you're going to respond when it does happen.
Excuse me, what do you mean when you say data breaches?
I'm just about to get into that. So it's important to know the difference between a security incident and a data breach. So a security incident is when a threat actor or, you know, the proverbial bad guy breaks into your network or your systems and gains control or unauthorized access of your computer or a server or a system. So that's a security incident. It could be as simple as someone getting your credentials and gaining access to your email account. So that's a security incident, and they range in severity. A data breach is the next level of a security incident. So let's say they gain access to one of our systems, and then they get data, they get financial data, or credit card information, social security numbers, and then they take that out and they steal it. That then becomes a data breach. And when it becomes a data breach, we are legally required to take certain steps in notifying the relevant authorities, notifying people who are affected if their information was taken. Like during our security incident, we had some employees affected. We had to notify those employees about what happened, what information was accessed, etc. So I thought it might be good to look at some of the characteristics around security incidents and data breaches. And, you know, who are the people doing this? Why? What are they after? What kind of attack methods are they using? And a lot of this information is from that Verizon report, a lot of these statistics. So 72% of these incidents involve external threat actors or, you know, criminals, cyber criminals. And that's in the education sector versus 83% overall across all industries. 70% of cyber crimes are perpetrated by organized crime groups. You know, the old brick and mortar crime is a lot riskier than doing it online. You know, it's low risk, high reward. So a lot of cyber crime and crime groups have moved online. It's the way of the world for crime now. And they're getting sophisticated too. I read a report about gangs that were getting their gang members to apply for jobs in data entry at target organizations that they're targeting. So they get them into those data entry positions, they're low level, they kind of fly beneath the radar, but they have access to data, they have login credentials, they can get what they need, and then they sell that information on the dark web. So it really illustrates the importance of having strong hiring procedures, background checks. You know, there's a lot of things we can do to combat these threats, and we're going to touch on some of those later. 92%, it's probably no surprise, 92% are financially motivated attacks. They're going after social security numbers, credit card numbers, login credentials, and they sell these on the dark web. You can buy packs. It's like shopping on Amazon on the dark web. You can buy credit card numbers, login credentials for different organizations. It's really quite interesting and scary. And in many cases, they will also ransom your data. They'll encrypt it through ransomware and then hold it ransom and say, look, pay us this much in Bitcoin, or we're not going to give you your data back.
And that's what they did to us
Yeah.
at the college last year.
We didn't pay.
We did not pay it, but we negotiated.
We did. Yes, we did.
And the advice is typically not to pay because there's no guarantee they're not going to release their information anyway. So typically the organizations that do pay because they can't recover from backups and it's going to seriously affect their business. For us, we were able to recover our data. We had good backups.
Can I ask you a quick question? So you're, in those kind of situations, if you have insurance coverage, who makes the decision whether to pay or not? Is it up to the insured, or is it up to the company, or is it a combination of?
Combination. Here, because we had access to all our data, because we had it backed up, it really wasn't an issue. We never thought of paying, nor did the insurance company pick the thing. If we needed access to data, then it would have been a situation where, unless Brad tells me otherwise, we all of a sudden would have had it back.
Well, legally, they can decide to pay, right?
Yes.
The carrier can pay.
I mean, we met 7 days.
If I could jump in here.
Oh. Go ahead, Dawn.
Yeah, I just want to jump in here and say, as of, and this has happened, I believe we had our previous incident. It is now against New Jersey law to pay. Period. So that while that might have been a consideration, we did have a negotiation situation. It was less negotiating for the trying to not pay and more just buying us some time to get our backups up and running. So I would never encourage anyone to pay writ large, private or public, but now it is against the law to pay.
Interesting.
So what are the top threats for the college? Our threats closely mirror what the rest of the education sector is facing. Number one is social engineering. And if you're not familiar with the term social engineering, it's really where the threat actor or the bad guy tries to take advantage of you. It might be through a scam email, or at home, if you've ever gotten a call from someone saying, hey, we're Microsoft and we've detected something on your computer at home, your computer's at risk, we need you to go to this website and download this software. It's a scam. They're trying to take advantage of you. That's social engineering. They're getting really good at it. We've had cases, I've seen one case at another institution where they were going through, like us, their middle states accreditation process. And there was a scam email sent to a lot of high-level administrators, appearing to come from the president, saying, please click on this link and review the draft middle states report. We've got to get feedback, in the next day. So they create a sense of urgency, and they have it come from someone you trust. They've researched the institution, they know us. And a lot of people clicked on that. And once they click on it, it says, oh, you have to log in to access this document. And then you put your username and password in, and all of a sudden they have your credentials. Then they can use those to go and do other things. So that's one example. Another example might be, let's say you're walking into the entrance one morning, at Ellison Street parking lot, right? And you see a USB drive on the ground. You say, oh, maybe someone dropped it when they were getting their ID card out to get in. And on the USB stick, it says PCCC Finance, right? So being the good person you are, I think, let me give this to someone in finance, because it's probably important. You don't want to just leave it lying around. So they give it to someone in finance, and they say, well, I don't know who this belongs to. Let me plug it in and see what's on here. As soon as they plug it in, malicious software installs on their computer. They may not even notice. And then all of a sudden, the threat actor has control of their computer. It can try and access other systems and pull data. They could be sniffing whatever you type on the keyboard. Whenever you log into a banking site, they might be gathering that information. So this is why I list this as our number one threat. It's quite scary what they can do just by taking advantage of people's good nature and trust. Second threat is miscellaneous errors. I'll just touch on this briefly. This is basically when IT might configure a system or grant access for an application and they make a mistake, human error. And they might grant more permission or more access than they should, and they don't realize it, or through a misconfiguration of the system. And then all of a sudden people have more access than they should. They might see data that they shouldn't see. And the third is system intrusion. This is, when you see those movies, in Hollywood about hackers and they hack into systems. This is where they take advantage of weaknesses or bugs in software. They exploit those to gain unauthorized access to a computer. That's why it's important on your home computers. You do your Windows updates, right? That addresses security risks like this. So that is our number 3 threat at the college. Also put this note here. It's very rarely just one attack method. When there is a security incident, it usually follows kind of a storyline. It might start with a phishing email where they try and get someone's credentials because they click on this link or they install software and it gives them access. And then from there, they try and get to another system and they're looking for data. They're looking for further access into the network and into our systems. So it's usually a combination of different methods. And based on the Verizon data, close to a quarter of all incidents end up resulting in ransomware being installed and systems being encrypted. So ransomware is really a top threat, but because it happens kind of late, right? I didn't put it in the top 3, but that's usually a result of these top 3. So what are we doing to address or mitigate these risks? So we have an information security program, and you as the board actually approved a policy several years ago, which basically tells and authorizes us to create that and create a program and subsequent policies and procedures to mitigate risks. So everything I mentioned in terms of our response here under ISP or Information Security Plan response, that's all in our plan in that program. So for social engineering, really the greatest defense we have against that is a well-educated and savvy employee, so that they can recognize a scam email fairly quickly. They know how to handle sensitive data and protect it. So we have security awareness training that's now annual that we conduct. We also have technical measures which help protect against social engineering attacks, especially scam emails. We have email security policies. So whenever an email is received by the college or sent, it's scanned. If there's any links or malicious software in there, it pulls those out. If there's a link in there going to a malicious site that Microsoft knows about, it will block that. In addition to that, we also have procedures, right? It's all about people, processes, and technology. Those 3 encompass a lot of what we're doing. So this isn't just an IT thing. So another example I didn't give, I actually can't even see my presentation notes, so I forgot this example. It was related to payroll fraud. So another example, and I've actually seen this happen at an organization. Someone impersonated an employee, sent an email to the payroll manager, said, "Hey, my bank details have changed. Can you please update them in the system?" They said, "Sure, I'll take care of it." You know, next payroll period, the actual employee called up saying, "Hey, I didn't get paid. Where's my paycheck?" It went to someone else because payroll didn't check. So here at PCCC, we don't do that, right? So we confirm the identity. Whenever there's a request for a change in banking details, they don't just accept it at face value. They'll call the employee, they'll confirm identity, and they'll make sure that they have those checks and balances in place before they change the bank data. So that's just payroll. It's across the institution, but also in IT, we have our own procedures as well. Last but not least, and I kind of bolded this, multi-factor authentication. If someone does give into a scam email and click on that link and give away their credentials, all's not lost because we've enforced multi-factor authentication. So even if a threat actor gains your login info, they try and access your email or something to send another scam message, maybe impersonating that person. They can't because they have to get a push notification to the employee's phone. So it's the same for you when you log into your banking website or Amazon. You may get a text message you have to enter before you can log in. It's the same thing. That's multi-factor authentication. And you'll see that, it's I'm not going to say it's a cure-all for security, but it is the most impactful change that we have made in security here that grants a significant amount of reduction of risk. Miscellaneous errors, we have standard procedures, standard configurations that we adhere to try and minimize configuration error. We also have a change management practice. So if I want to make a change to a system, I can't just go ahead and make that change. I have to document it and present it to a small committee. They review it, they poke holes and say, why did you do this? Well, what's that going to affect? And it has to be approved. And then where possible, it's implemented by someone else. So we have a separation of duties as well. And that helps reduce error because there's extra scrutiny, extra eyes on the change. And system intrusion, we have regular patching cycles, so we update our software, we update our servers, patch any holes in software that there may be. We do monthly vulnerability scans, so there's software that goes and tries to connect to all of our systems and see if there are any holes or bugs that are known exploits. We also have annual network penetration testing. This is where we pay a third-party vendor to put on that kind of black hat and try and hack into our. So we basically pay a vendor to try and hack our network. Then they give us a report at the end of that saying, this is what we found, this is what we were able to do, and then we have a list of things that we need to correct. We also have a security operations center that runs 24/7, and all of our systems, all of our computers, they send a tremendous amount of data to the security operations center. And using AI and machine learning, it knows and recognizes patterns. So if there's something that's unexpected or anomalous, it will raise a red flag and they will give us a call and say, hey, this doesn't look right, this looks suspicious. We've seen this program trying to run on this computer over here, it's not supposed to, look into that. And that is another layer of security that we have to reduce risk. All right, federal requirements. The Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act is it's the most important one that we deal with. It has a lot of provisions in it that we have to address. Basically, Gramm-Leach-Bliley Act, it's a law, it applies to financial institutions. There's privacy and information security provisions designed to protect consumer financial data. So our student data, let's say they give us tax information when they're applying for financial aid. That's the kind of data we're talking about. In 2015, GLBA compliance was included in the Title IV Program Participation Agreement. So if we don't comply with GLBA, we may lose financial aid funding. So it's really important that we get this right. So some of the requirements, this is really what was the driving factor behind creating an information security program. That's one of the requirements of GLBA. It also says that have to designate an employee to coordinate the program. That's me. We have to analyze risks. So what risks do we face? How likely are they to manifest? So that's the second one. Third, we have to implement safeguards to control those risks. They are physical, technical, administrative, and as I said before, it's not just IT. This goes across especially finance and enrollment services as well. We have to oversee our third-party providers. So if we are using a third party that's handling some of our data, maybe it's through online payments for tuition or something like that, we have to make sure in our contracts with them that they have audits and doing everything that they're supposed to do to comply with these laws as well. So that responsibility is on us to oversee those agreements with our vendors. And we also have to adjust the program, right? It can't just stay stagnant. We have to learn from as the risks change. It's a moving target. The hackers are doing different things every year. So we have to adjust our program. In 2019, Federal Trade Commission came out with audit objectives. So those first 3 points are now checked in our annual financial audit. So the head auditor reaches out to me and says, okay, show me this, show me evidence of this. So we actually have to, no longer just say, yeah, we're complying, we actually have to show evidence. And that scrutiny is only increasing year over year. Some of the recent changes to GLBA. In 2021, FTC approved changes to the safeguard rule. And these are just a couple. The implementation deadline was, June of this year. You have to encrypt all sensitive information. So that's not just in transit, like if you are entering information in a web browser on a form and it's encrypted. That's great, but we also have to encrypt it as it's stored at rest on our systems. We have to train security personnel to develop an incident response plan. So if we do have a security incident, a breach, what is our plan to respond to that? Who do we contact when? What steps do we follow? Implement multi-factor authentication. We have done that. And we've done all of these things. So we're in pretty good shape, and there are more as well. Some upcoming changes. The Federal Student Aid Office, FSA, of the Department of Ed is strongly encouraging institutions to begin adopting information security controls required under NIST 800-171. This is something that the government requires of like defense contractors that they do business with. Now we're being encouraged to adopt those same kind of controls within higher ed. At the moment, they're strongly encouraging us, but we anticipate it's going to be a requirement in the near future. Dawn, I don't know if you can speak to NIST 800-171, what it is, maybe what other institutions are doing to prepare for this.
Absolutely. I'm glad to do it. So NIST 800-171, Brad talked about the GLBA requirement, and it is going to be a GLBA requirement in the future. We, to his point, don't necessarily know when. Some are speculating it could be as early as next July. So it's not something that we can really kind of put off. It's good to be proactive, try to get ahead of it, and that's really what we've been trying to do. The 171 requirement covers 14 control families. I won't belabor them, but they're everything from your physical security. So how could someone potentially gain access to your physical systems, whether it be an employee or someone coming in using the thumb drives that Brad mentioned previously, all the way to when we have to do maintenance on systems. We have to have someone come into the physical center where our servers are located. How do we sign those people in and out? How do we establish that control? So he's showing you a slide right now that talks about some different types of controls there, and that just shows you the that extra level of people, process, and technology that is going to become a mandated requirement. And we know it is going to be required. They very explicitly said in June, when the new safeguards came into practice, that this was going to be the next step. They just haven't told us exactly when that's going to be. So there will be additional, again, people, process, and technology things that will be mandated to put into place. GLBA covers our ability to process financial aid. And I can tell you to Brad's question about what are institutions doing, because I'm the virtual CISO for about 20 different institutions, give or take, across K-12 all the way up to large higher ed. And I have actually had a crisis call with at least one college that had an audit done after the 9th of June, did not comply with the recent GLBA safeguards, and has been put on notice that if they don't comply with certain requirements between then now and then, that they will lose their ability to process financial aid. So I have already seen it start taking place. As far as what other institutions are doing to try to get ahead of this particular issue, I will say everybody I'm working with for sure is having to invest in different tools, some technologies, and the fact that we already have multi-factor authentication here gets us really ahead of the game. That's probably the number one thing that we can do from a technology perspective. And I know it's sometimes a pain, especially when you're having to use phones or apps or whatever for multi-factor, but for college purposes and also your personal purposes, I cannot stress highly enough to you how important multi-factor authentication is. So a lot of that to say it's coming sooner rather than later. We're really working hard to be proactive about it and get ahead of the game.
Thanks, Dawn.
Thanks, Brad.
All right, so that brings us to the end. So in summary, cybercrime is growing exponentially. I didn't include the chart from Bryson, but it's your typical exponential chart in terms of tracked data breaches that they're following. Our greatest threats: social engineering, misconfiguration, system intrusion. But we're in a pretty good place, especially over the last 3 years. We've put a lot of different strategies in play to reduce our risk. It's layered security, so you can't just trust one layer. Single layers fail. So we have all these different layers that will help mitigate that risk. And as Dawn mentioned, there's federal requirements, certainly from the DLBA, and also increasingly from cyber insurance companies. If we want to have a reasonable premium that we pay, or even to be able to obtain cyber insurance at all, we have to do even more than what we just mentioned here. So the demands on us are increasing. So with that, we're happy to entertain any questions.
Do you do like practice fishing here on your own to see if anybody like falls in the trap, and then you get extra education because you fell to our trap?
Yes, we have. We have. We've done one campaign so far. I think we had, Chris, I don't know if you remember the exact, maybe 99 or 91 employees that did what they should not do.
Oh, that's good. That's great.
We're trying to trick them. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, but they fell for it.
No, I mean, that's great. Thank you.
And when they do accidentally or not accidentally click on those things, and actually, there are different levels, right? One was they opened it and actually read it. Some people just deleted it immediately because they could see it came from like a Gmail address or something like that. Other people, a lot of people opened it. I think we had maybe 800 people or something that actually opened it and read it. We intentionally made it obvious in subtle ways. So, you know, there's an extra C in PCCC, you know, just little things like that. Then people actually clicked on the link. That was the next kind of check. We've got data on each step that people followed. So if you click the link, it takes you to a website and says, enter your credentials. At that point, a lot of people said, oh, this is bad, I'm not going to do it. And next, if they actually enter their credentials.
So 91 people actually.
91 actually entered their credentials.
From the 800?
I didn't go there.
Out of 1,200.
Oh.
Yeah, that's not too bad. And anyone who does that, we send them a link to our security awareness training so they can, you know, refresh on, you know, phishing scams.
That's not true.
Any other questions?
There seems like a lot more fishing going on with policy.
Oh, yes.
I mean, I've noticed like 3 episodes in the last week.
It's definitely seasonal. You'll see, you know, around, you know, especially the holiday time. Hey, I get an email from Steve Rose that says, oh, I'm in a meeting right now. I need you to quickly go and buy some gift cards for.
So I actually had the pleasure of seeing Dr. Junkerly at a women's breakfast. And I was glad that she worked with PCC. I was like, yay, because she was really good. So it's nice seeing you again.
Dawn has been great for us. She's really helped us put together our program, create our policies, and just give us information, anecdotal and otherwise. Because she deals with so many other institutions. She knows what they're doing, from, you know, the large research institutions to community colleges. She sees what they're doing for security, and we can benefit from the lessons that she's not there.
And remember, if we're perfect today, we won't be perfect tomorrow.
Oh, no.
And that's the problem. This is changing every day. You're never caught up.
Trustee Glover?
Yeah, I was just curious, as you mentioned, we're going through this middle states evaluation. I was wondering, is this part of their, do they evaluate this as part of their review process, security?
I mean, it's certainly our auditors are doing it now. It's part of the audit.
Oh, okay, is it?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, since 2015, the auditors are now looking at our information security program. For example, one of the questions I got from an auditor was, show me evidence that when someone requests access to our, HR system or, finance system, show me that you have an approval process in place and that you have an audit trail for that decision. And we have to, look up our systems and present that.
So if you get an audit finding, and several colleges have had audit findings, that they, were not up on their protocols for security, that becomes a middle states issue, absolutely.
Very good.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's scary.
It is, yeah. Like the one that's going around now. I was in an accident. It's from Facebook. So they must be going into Facebook and getting people such, content.
Yep.
Middle states.
All right, middle states update. I want to let me just thank the board first. So as you all were aware, and so many of you were able to come, and that was wonderful. On November 1st, we had Dr. Thomas Sigadetti, who was going to be chairing the team, who was coming here in April to see us, and this was his preliminary visit to make sure we're ready, and he had lunch with the board of trustees that day, and you guys were awesome. You really, your answers were incredible. I couldn't have scripted it if you guys were ready, and hopefully part of the reason you're ready is because these folks come and talk to you at these meetings and update you, and you merely talked about what was going on. You talked about things from the retreat. You talked about the fact that you took everything right. So every month now, between now and April, we're gonna just bring you some brief updates on what we're going. As you remember, we have 7 standards. So tonight we're going to talk about one. Jackie, I'm going to turn it over to you to introduce us here.
We're gonna get interviewed again.
No, that's the one that counts in April. Remember, that's gonna be a whole team of about 7 or 8 people who are gonna be here.
No, I realize that's one of our.
Oh, yeah.
Do we have a date yet?
Yes, it's April 7th, so Sunday, we will start, you're gonna get invited to dinner Sunday night at Wanacue on Sunday, April 7th, and they'll be leaving here Wednesday, April 10th.
Okay, well, we're here to update you a little bit on our progress toward the Middle States accreditation visit. And I have the best team ever here. I have Meredith Behrens, who's been helping us write the preliminary report. And I have the chairs of Working Group 1, which is the standard that you're going to hear about tonight, Mission and Goals. I have Lisa Jones and Jack Robb. And so I think we're going to start with Meredith. She's going to give us some information also about some of the things that have been going on in the college, particularly some meetings that we've been holding to update people, particularly last Saturday. And she'll tell you a little bit about this. We had a group right in here in this room at adjunct faculty where we updated them on the Middle States visit. We're going to be doing that with the full-time faculty and a variety of other groups. So I'm going to turn it over to Meredith.
Thank you, Dr. Kennedy. So good evening, everyone. My name is Meredith Behrens. I am here on
We all know you.
Yes, I hope so. I hope so. I am here on behalf of our co-chairs, Dr. Dawn Norman and Dr. Christine Redmond-Waldeyer. Unfortunately, they couldn't be here this evening, so I'm representing them. So when you see them next time, you tell them it was outstanding. Just to give a little background again, some of our important dates, we're coming out of a visit from our chair, Dr. Thomas Sigadetti, the former president of Bronx Community College. He came on November 1st. You met with him. Our students met with him, the steering committee, the college community. It was a fantastic visit. We really enjoyed a conversation, and we're looking forward to him coming back with the full team. As Dr. Kennedy mentioned, we had our adjunct faculty meeting, and now we have our community college forums coming up in December. And this will allow us the opportunity for the community to come and give us their feedback, their input. This really is meant to be an inclusive process, a transparent process. So we have those dates coming up. And again, it all leads to our visit Sunday, April 7th to Wednesday, April 10th. Again, to kick off with the dinner with all of you and our team on Sunday, April 7th. So we're excited about that, and we're definitely on our way to a successful visit. Just to go over a brief overview of the standards with all of you. Again, this is part one of many to come, so you won't be tested, but just to go over them again, standard one is our mission and goals. Standard two, ethics and integrity. Standard three, design and delivery of the student learning experience. Standard four, support of the student experience. Standard five, educational effectiveness assessment. Standard six, planning, resources, and institutional improvement. And lastly, standard seven, governance, leadership, and administration. So with that, I turn it over to Jack Robb and Lisa Jones.
Okay. So the institution we were the institution mission defines the purpose within the context of higher education, the students' concerns, and what it intends to accomplish. The institutional stated goals are clearly linked to its mission and specify how the institution fulfills them. So requirements of affiliation, number 7, mission statements are approved by a governing body. And number 10, institutional planning integrates goals and academic institutional effectiveness and inclusion. Clearly defined missions and goals are developed through appropriate, collaborative, and inclusive participation by all who facilitate and are otherwise responsible for institutional development and improvement. Our process included a diverse body of people, community members, students, faculty, administrator, and staff. The processing and review included the academic council, academic affairs, students affairs, and the president's cabinet, to name a few groups involved, each having their own site, everybody participating. We are approved by, supported by government.
We saw something.
Yeah.
Our second bullet point here, you see is that it's approved by the, supported by the governing body. So in regards to our current mission statement and strategic priorities, they were evaluated and approved by both our academic council and also by you at the board of trustees. And I found it interesting this evening when you started out and you made that slight change, a little clerical error on the notes from the last meeting. We refer to your notes constantly. We're always looking at that, and that helps us with immense amounts with ours, but also the other sections you're going to see. So you're going to hear board trustees coming to you every one of the groups that you meet. And it's just dotting those I's, crossing those T's that helps us to do our work to try to support and prove that the college is functioning the way we're supposed to function.
Yeah. So we refer to, actually, you guys are the governing body we refer to often because you meet more than you are. So we said our current mission statement is strategic priorities are evaluated and approved through the both academic council and board of trustees, included in some support of scholarly inquiry and creative activities at levels and type of appropriate institutions. This aligns with our strategic priorities and to ensure faculty are proficient in current and evolving pedagogy, technology, and best practices. Strategic priorities engage learners with innovative pedagogy. And we added some things there. We said we have an associate dean of distance education, the Learning Resource Center, in the business administration, providing professional and development opportunities. Let's see, PCC faculty and staff members of the New Jersey Distance Education Affinity Group. Faculty is encouraged to engage in creative activities and scholarly inquiry in a process that assesses the development of scholarly achievement and contributions. Promotion application supports faculty development, contributions to one field of educational development and service to PCC and counties of the state. Get them all?
Also in this aspect, we also have our promotional applications when faculty are looking to be promoted and get their tenure and to rise to other levels. It's included in there as well as far as the contribution to one's field, the educational process, the different courses that they've taken to better themselves and to better the product putting in the classrooms, the service to Passaic County Community College, but also service to Passaic County as a whole, the communities that we serve. We do receive a lot of grants at the college. A lot of these grants are earmarked for professional development for faculty, for staff as well, including things such as evidence-based coaching, training for student services, professionals and faculty, memberships for professional organizations, and travel to conferences. I was actually blessed this past week, went to a conference for the American Sociology of Criminologists to present there quickly. And the other funny part is on the way home, I'm actually doing an online course in regards to ungrading, it's called, another way to look at our students, more of a mentoring, more of a feedback kind of way of providing grades to our students. So the college is always looking at ways to give us the ability to do better at our jobs. Also through STEM, our students in STEM, they deal with NASA and their community college aerospace program, scholars program, NCAS. Since 2014, we've had about 100 students that have entered that program. 56 of those students received a 1-week paid internship where they had team building exercises with NASA, networking opportunities with NASA. 9 of those students then went on to an 8-week paid internship that provided research experience with NASA as well. I look back being an alumni, and if we had that when I was here, I might have switched out of CJ and I might have went the engineering route. I see our students walking around with the NASA emblem on, and I couldn't be happier for them. I think it's great opportunities they're getting. Our next point here is that our mission goals are publicized and widely known by the institution's internal stakeholders. We are now posting them prominently. If you look to the back of the room right now, there's a very large document back there, and that's our mission and goals. And they're pretty much at all our campuses, all the entranceways, places where people congregate.
24 of them or 22?
Yeah, 22 right now, and it's growing, it's going up.
22 of them hanging around all 4 campuses.
And they are larger than previous years.
Yes.
Yeah.
This one's a little smaller, a little harder to read.
Smaller, they're larger.
So we have them throughout the campuses. We also had a 2022 perceptionnaire that went out to our students, our faculty and staff. From that, we got about 828 unique responses, and 81% of them recognized and indicated that the college is succeeding in achieving their mission. Just quick side note, most people don't know about mission and goals. Most people don't think about mission and goals. I didn't when I was a police officer across the street. I kind of knew we had them there. You just do your job. And I think a lot of people look at it that way. I remember going to the hospital when my mom was sick and walking the halls of the hospital, and on the pillar there, I see mission and goals for the hospital. I took time to read it just to see what it was about. And as I read through it and what the mission of the hospital was, it made me a little more relieved that my mom was getting the right types of services. And I think that having these documents throughout, it's going to build that same confidence in our students as well.
There's one now hanging in the student lounge in one.
Yeah.
There is one in the student lounge. Institutional goals that are realistic, appropriate to higher education, and consistent with mission. Consider diversity, equity, and inclusion principles are supported by administrative, educational, and student support programs and services. Diversity, equity, and inclusion workshops, presentation, and professional development opportunities are a collaboration among several grant initiatives in the Diversity, Equity, Engagement, and Completion Committee, DEEC. Faculty-led communities and practices engage in best pedagogical practices, alternatives to traditional grading and career readiness. Hence, he had ungrading.
And it's a very interesting concept. We'll see how it applies. Next one is periodic assessment of mission and goals to ensure that they're relevant and achievable. Annually at our convocation, we have our accomplishments made by the various departments and programs, and in support of the college's mission, they get reviewed at convocation annually. And we talk about how our strategic policies priorities are highlighted and also discussed there. Assessment and closing the loop are paramount to our college. Courses and programs are assessed on a scheduled basis, and plans to meet course and program outcomes are incorporated into our department meetings and our department planning efforts going forward. All the statistics are in a program called Watermark. and it helps us to keep track of all the data. We also participate in achieving the dream and guided pathways. It allows us to identify the best practices amongst our contemporaries and implement the best ideas that we feel can help serve the needs of our constituents. Through these organizations, we examine the data that's available, provide a basis for our own decision-making and our planning efforts at the college-wide. It's important to understand, and you're going to be getting a lot from the other groups as well. This is just what made it into the report. The initial document probably had tons more information in it. It's hard to pick and choose, but we try to get the best data possible to represent the facts that they're going to be looking for at Michi to make sure that we receive our accreditation. So just because we're doing a few here doesn't mean the college is not excelling in many, many other ways that just didn't make it on paper.
You do have a 100-page limit on the report.
We're right now at about 140 pages, so we got some cutting to do.
Yeah, right.
Or make the font so small you can't.
Or you don't have a font requirement?
Yeah, there is a font requirement. There is, yeah.
Currently, a lot of colleges cheat on that.
We've had judges that put a measure to it.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
Friends, development of the mission was collaborative and included cross-campus representation. The information in the self-study draft was connected to the mission and strategic priorities. Like that we have priorities, not goals. It's over priorities and more action motivated. The mission statement is posted throughout the institution. And we're working on it still, right?
It's good.
It's good. We're going.
We're good.
Okay. And it's just opportunities for improvements. I think Dr. Segamonde, when he was here, just if we can get more student involvement, I guess, looking at some of the stuff. And we've been doing a couple of focus groups, so we're working on that now. So more students, and we also have it's been incorporated in the college success course. So they go over it and go through it in the college success. So the students are familiar with our mission and goals and the
Correct.
And if I can just add to that, right, because you'll notice this as we come through here in the meetings that come, and you know, after every standard, you'll see their strengths, and some of them may even have an opportunity for improvement. So, right, self-study, it's a self-reflection. We go, I think Dr. Sekanaibi mentioned, right, you go through your day, and at the end of your day, you reflect on what have you done well, what can you do better, what can you improve? And so that's really what this process becomes for us. And so as we talk about these strengths, we talk about these opportunities for improvement, you know, this is all still in draft form as we're presenting it to you. We're making sure we have the evidence to back it up. So if we say that something is our strength, we're going to make sure that in the document, we have that evidence to substantiate why it's there. And the same thing for an opportunity for improvement. So we're excited about continuing to come forward, present to you, especially after the example that Vice President Morton gave. We'll be presenting to you because I think no one is going to open up our Middle States report now. So, right? So we will be coming forward in the months that that follow here, and just thank you for your commitment. For those of you who came and participated, that you see value in this is important. Like I said, it allows us to reflect on what we're doing, to become better for ourselves, for our students, for our community. It also gives us the opportunity to really shine and highlight what we're doing so very well. So
Thank you.
Thank you. Very good. Thank you.
I have a quick question regarding ungrading. Are we, I just read, so Duke is doing something similar to that, so, do we have any courses that we're gonna be doing ungrading for, or is it's time consuming, I think, but.
It is time consuming and.
But it's like the not yet type of thinking that Chicago does, right?
Well, the college has sent us through these courses, and I just went through with a group of, my coworkers, and we were able to dialogue and say what we like about it, what we don't like about it, what we're concerned about it. I'm a former cop, and he is 95 and higher, and numbers are numbers. That's kind of what it was. It seems to be more from what I'm taking, the parts I've been using in my courses, tends to be more on the feedback. So I have a writing intensive course, and instead of giving one of my assignments is a 3-point grade, and I want rewrite. So if I wanted to rewrite in the past, I'll give them a half a point. And the student get a half a point on 3, and they go, oh my God, I gotta do something. So now they're looking at you to just change your dialogue a little bit, a little more feedback. So you want terms such as not yet.
Right.
You're not there yet. Not yet.
That's the University of Chicago does that.
Right.
And
it
so,
seems-
but we're considering it, or?
Oh, yeah, that's why,
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah.
I look forward to that.
And I'm looking forward to incorporating it. I think it'll work for my class, at least the way I'm looking at it and different than my congressman. I think it'll work if it gets kids in there. And then one of the things was also have the students do a reflection, midterm reflection, and class reflection. What do you think your grade should be? I kind of like that. Because my students are pretty honest. They'll tell me straight out, but they're not making the grades like this. I'm doing my best. They'll go on up to.
I wrote a chapter too, I know what not yet looks like.
I think it's gonna work out well. I think my students are gonna be honest with me. I'm gonna try this semester without giving them grade and not using the program. I wanna see how close they come to what they feel they actually earned on what they've done. I think it's gonna have some help for students.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And remember, that's what this whole process is about, is to improve ourselves and to look at these things, and every 8 years, to do a self-study and to really take a close look at what we're doing. So, it's working.
That may cause more kids to be retained, that
Oh,
whole not yet
yeah.
thing, because it's not like you failed, it's like, I'm not there yet, let me keep going until
Well,
I get there.
We have, for many of our developmental classes, we've really tried to adopt a policy of you have to earn failing. If you come to class and you're trying to get through it, we get to the end of the class, we're gonna give you an incomplete. We're not gonna give you a failure. And then we're going to take over and we're gonna work with that student for the couple of weeks prior to the next semester to try and bring them up to level. We'll give them tutoring, we'll give them this, we'll give them that, whatever we can do to get them up to that level. So we're trying, especially in these developmental classes, not to ever have a student repeat the class. The only ones who are repeating the class are the ones who just stop showing up or just aren't doing it. So, it's stuff like that does work, but it takes a lot more effort on our part.
Is that a large, small percentage?
That is a larger percentage than you would think. Yeah. That's, it's. We've got some classes where 35–40% of the students are not passing, on the first try. And
Because
that's
they don't
not.
have the fundamentals to do it, or they just don't get it, or?
Yes. I mean, life gets in the way. Look, a lot of our students have incredible demands on their lives. A lot, we have some of them are parents, some of them are working full time. And while they're working, and then their boss says the overtime this week is mandatory. And they have a test the next day, and they fall behind, or the kid's in the hospital, or this happens, or that happens, and that's just
a lot of circumstances.
Yeah, and it's you can't blame them for that. It's just the way it is, and but we need to, but our response just can't be sorry. You had this class for 15 weeks. You didn't pass it in the 15-week period, so therefore come back next year and take it again for another 15 weeks.
Combination is the name of the game.
Yeah, and we need to try and, where we can, be flexible. Doesn't always work, but where we can, try to be flexible and, try some innovative techniques for teaching, and that will help. Yep, just one thing tonight, just last meeting, you met Stephanie, who's sitting over here. And Stephanie is going to be handling all things concerning the board at this point, and she started 2 weeks ago, and she's hit the ground running and has been doing a wonderful job in the 2 weeks, but Emery Keegan is back here, and as all of you know, Evelyn's retired on May 1st, but prior to that was out for a while, and Evelyn had been doing this job for 36 years, in the presence of almost 40 years, but had one job before she came to the president's office, and we needed some extra help during that period of time, and Emery just stepped up and she learned it, and she's been that person behind the scenes who's been helping to put this all together every month, and boy did she work hard and learn it, and she's been invaluable in terms of doing it. So I had asked her if she would come to the board meeting so you could recognize her for what she did.
Thank you, Dr. Rhodes. It's a pleasure working with you for the last 4 months. And I think, it's drinking game. Wait, that goes, I have one more question. It's been a long time. But you are an extremely competent and staff. It was a pleasure passing the nominee forward to her.
We appreciate everything that you did.
Thank you.
All right, so a couple more things tonight. Amended bylaws. This is the second reading. You read it last month. This is a result of what we spoke about at the retreat on September 30th. So we're happy to bring those. We have adoption of the annual meeting calendar. As we talked about at the retreat, we're going to stay with the third Tuesday of the month at this time. So that part is done. You've got purchases of goods and services here tonight. Happy to answer any questions about any of the purchases that are here. I think they're fairly straightforward tonight. Nothing too exciting. Personnel items, happy to answer any questions. We do not need an executive session tonight. So
turn it over. They have a motion to adopt resolution number 3, consent resolution. Items as set forth in the memorandum dated November 21st, 2023. It's the amended bylaws, the adoption of the annual meeting calendar, business items, purchase of goods and services, any personnel. Second was trustee. Well,
I heard trustee Glover make the motion.
I heard-
I did. Just wanted to hear you more. Okay. To adopt consent resolution number 3, trustee Octor,
Yes.
trustee Drakeford,
Yes.
trustee Glover.
Yes.
Trustee Diaz-Denay, trustee Moody,
Yes.
trustee Nutter. Trustee Nutter. Trustee Poe. Trustee Ramirez.
I must abstain from the point. You're not actually approving them, just getting them. I think what's. We haven't listened here as approval. Yes, it is listed as approval, so,
Okay, so. We're gonna have to have a separate, should adjunct faculty. So you're a yes on everything but the adjunct faculty. Correct. I'm back to that. Trustee Smith,
Yes.
Vice Chair Tennis,
Yes.
Chairman Marco.
Yes.
All right, now we need to approve the part-time temporary, the adjunct faculty. Second? Trustee Poe. So this is to approve the adjunct faculty appointments as listed in the personnel packet. Trustee Octor?
Yes.
Doc? Yes?
Yes.
Trustee Drakeford?
Yes.
Trustee Glover?
Yes.
Trustee Diaz-Denay?
Yes.
Trustee Moody?
Yes.
Trustee Nutter? Trustee Nutter? Okay. Trustee Poe? Trustee Ramirez abstains. Trustee Smith?
Yes.
Vice Chair Dennis?
Yes.
Chairman Marco?
Yes.
That is-
Okay. Are there any remarks from the public? None? Are there any remarks from the trustees? And there's a remark from me.
yes.
Second reading and approval of the bylaws. We at a retreat talked about committees, okay? And three committees are Budget Finance and Audit Committee, the Academic Committee, and also the Operations Committee. So any trustee interested in that, please let Steve or I know. Okay, and we'll follow back up with you and hopefully we'll get some volunteers. I'm sure we will. There's a lot of discussion at the retreat about it. Okay?
All right, two things I have to tell them about.
Go ahead.
One, they asked me to tell you tonight is our rivalry basketball game versus Bergen Community College. They're our rivalry, so they told me they're probably still playing down in the gym. So if any of you on your way out want to stop in and poke your head in, it's our rivalry basketball game. And because we're only 2 nights away from Thanksgiving, tonight is pie night here at the college. Please see me before you leave to get your pie.
What time is the game? What time the game start?
The women's game started, I think, at 5, and at 7 was the men's. Men still be, but should just be getting started. Probably in the first part of the men's game tonight. That's what I got.
All right, good. We have a motion to adjourn the meeting.
No, I have a question, please.
Oh, sure, go ahead there.
Would you kindly just repeat the committees?
Sure. It's the Budget, Finance, and Audit Committee, the Academic Committee, and the Operations Committee.
Just 3. Okay, thank you.
Adjourn the meeting.
Second. Okay, on the motion to adjourn, trustee Octor,
Yes.
Stryker,
Yes.
trustee Plummer. Yes. Trustee Renee.
Yes, sir.
Trustee Moody. Yes. Trustee Hunter. Trustee Poe. Trustee Ramirez.
Yes.
Trustee Smith.
Yes.
Vice Chair Dennis.
Yes.
Chair Lamar.
Yes, you're adjourned. Thanks, everybody.
Have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.